How's it going, everyone? Jiivita here, and it is good to be back in Boundless. So I apologize for all of the radio silence. Let's just say that life got a bit real there for a little bit on top of a cold, and yeah. So I am back. Suffice to say, I'm not that great at the whole communication, social media type thing. So again, I apologize, but I should be back to more or less a regular release schedule. But anyway, this video we are taking a look at release 239. This is on the live servers currently, which you probably already know if you play Boundless with any kind of regularity, but this also coincides with the 2020 Lovestruck event, so quite a bit to talk about here. As far as the patch itself, it sees quite a few new additions, so like I said, the Lovestruck event coincides with this, but we also have in the devs stress this a number of times, a prototype creative mode complete or includes Lua scripting for modding. So currently it is PC only, but yeah, there is a prototype for creative mode and even some server side modding. So that alone is pretty exciting. They say that it's intended to be a foundation for further play modes that will complement the main MMO. So the first thing that kind of jumps in my mind is almost like an adventure mode, kind of like in Minecraft. I didn't play that too terribly much, but I can certainly see some use case scenarios of like custom maps that enforce like maybe certain skill sets with scriptable events, etc., to make some really exciting jumping puzzles that would otherwise not be possible in the live universe because, well, you know, different players could have different jumping skills, there's a problem of grapples, etc. So very exciting stuff. We'll take a closer look at that a little bit later. They also implemented quite a few improvements to the chat system. It should be a lot more responsive to the things you're actually interested in, or at least more intelligent. So first off, let's take a super quick look at the Lovestruck event. If you're unfamiliar with the Lovestruck event or you missed it last year, you'll start off by crafting these bouquets, which you will then trade to other players. As soon as you enter this item into the trade window, it will turn into this heart-shaped rock. It doesn't actually turn into the rock until you complete the trade, and you only get a rock if the player trades a bouquet to you as well. So ideally, both players will trade one rose to each other, so each player gets a heart-shaped rock. If one player doesn't have a rose, sometimes one player will be nice enough to trade two, and then the extra rose can be traded back to ensure that everybody gets a rose. So these are crafted quite simply from all of the decorative flowers. There's two different recipes that uses different combinations of these flowers. But moving along, the heart-shaped rocks will allow you to craft the other decorative items added by this event. The new decorative item for this event is the cherished Oort doll, which looks pretty good in my opinion. I really like the wings, and the bow and arrow is a nice addition. This event also has quite a few things available in the exchange as far as outfits and paint. So first off, we have the ribbon fascinator. Not exactly my style, but still, it's an interesting option. We got the Lovestruck eyes, which are pretty interesting, can make some really nice effects when paired with other wearables, and then the wings of Lovestruck, which are pretty interesting. Moving along, we have three body paints. This was the original from last year, and we have two new ones for this year, the Charmed and the Broken Hearted, which looks pretty cool, I have to say. Of course, you can customize all of these either using tint kits, or if you have Gleam Club, you can customize all three colors involved, so quite nice. So as I mentioned, the cherished Oort doll is the new decorative for this year, but we do see a return of previous year's decoratives, including the heart balloons, the romantic stone column, and the romantic vase. I have to say that the romantic vase does look pretty nice. The stone column, it's subtle, but it's basically a stone column and it has kind of roses growing up around it. And then the heart balloons, you can see at least a green example right here. Can add some nice flavor in certain situations. Okay, and moving along, let's take a look at the improved message system. If you're rather observant or just know what you're looking for, you probably notice that we have all of these notifications over here, kind of where the chat window would be, that is currently hidden. So first off, oh nice, we even got a notification right there. I couldn't have planned that any better even if I had tried. But so we have the kind of the world chat in this brown with the number 2, so there's 2 new kind of world notifications. This is the universe chat, which has basically gone unused since it was implemented. There's a questions and help section, as well as events and trade. So the really cool thing about this update is now those channels are included in the all filter, so they're much more accessible. Previously you had to go to that individual channel and that was the only way to view it, so basically nobody used it. People have commented that, oh my goodness, the Boundless actually feels alive just joining the world for the first time, because you can actually see people talking. Boundless up to this point has really kind of lacked the traditional general channel that is full of all kinds of crazy conversations in MMOs usually. And of course we have the purple for private messages and this kind of blue/light blue for guild messages. So we can hit T to open this up. And so we're focused on the world channel, so there's our 2 world channel messages right there. Then of course we can jump over to the all, which will, well, show us everything. So there's our 2 messages we've already seen. We have this handy little notification here, or breaker, for new messages. And another thing, now these message notifications they bridge play sessions. So even if you don't get around to reading these notifications, they will still be there your next play session, which is really handy for private messages. I can't tell you how many private messages and guild messages I've missed just because I log in just very briefly and then I have to log out and then all the notifications are gone. And Zama's being a little salty here, but I kind of needed him to make a little bit of noise because it's the wee hours of the morning right now. But as you scroll down, these notifications will start to count down, and which is very nice because previously if you looked at them, they would all disappear. So they're still there, so very nice. So in addition to improved notifications, the way the channels are updated has been improved. It more or less does it with the same speed, so to speak, but it does it much more intelligently. So it takes into consideration things like if you have a bunch of unread messages in said channel. If so, then maybe it won't check that channel quite as often, whereas private message and guild channels generally are considered more important, so it checks those channels more often. So far I've been having really good experience with it. I have heard of a few cases where players have actually experienced increased wait times for certain messages. I'm guessing that might have to do with maybe unread messages that are then indicating that channel is not as important. Also, it's good to note that when you log in for the first time, all messages will be marked as unread. Each channel can now hold up to 1,000 messages, which actually brings me to another good point. If you're scrolled up in a channel reading past history, that actually deprioritizes that particular channel because, well, you're reading all this stuff up here, so it's not going to get in a huge hurry to update it down below. So handy to know for maybe guild channels that while you're reviewing guild history, you might not be getting your new guild messages as quickly as you would otherwise. So to sum it up in a little bit of a neater package, the aim for this update is to basically keep the same performance of the chat, but do so in a more intelligent way for a better end user experience. And to address one complaint I've seen pop up repeatedly is basically players wanting to opt out of the universal channels. So this questions, help, shop and training, and community events. It's kind of acting like the general channels at the moment. It is making Boundless feel much more alive, but I guess some players kind of like that seclusion feeling and don't want to see these notifications. Currently, there's no way to opt out of them, but James has confirmed that in future updates, you will be able to remove these channels out of the all filter or the all channel if you so choose and don't want to see those notifications popping up constantly. So, good thing to note. Also, I'm sure to everybody's delight, messages are now time-stamped with your local time, which is a huge thing. I think previously it was defaulted to basically a time zone in Europe, which I'm sure is great for Europeans, but if you live in the United States or maybe even Australia, that can be a little bit disorienting. Last but certainly not least, we have the prototype creative mode and Lua scripting modding, so to speak. So first off, probably best to return to Sanctum. All of this is accessed through the debugging menu, which kind of explains at least a little bit why it's PC only for the moment. So we have this creative option right here. Click on that, and the order in which you do this does kind of matter, at least the first time you do it, because I ran into a few issues trying to set it up initially. But there is essentially two different things that you'll want to set up before you click this button that says swap to creative, because currently right now there's nothing really to swap to. So first off, we want to start a discovery server, which you can think of the discovery server as basically the Sanctum. It's going to be your gateway to essentially the universe you are about to create. So you can just drag this off to one of your other monitors or just minimize it. You really don't have to worry about the discovery server too much. We now want to create a new server, which is basically to say a planet. All of these will be default to super flats. In the future, moving forward, there might be an option like via the world builder to generate your own custom world and even kind of sculpt it to your liking. For now, there is kind of a MacGyver workaround. James provided 3 pre-generated lush worlds of different levels for those that want something a little bit more interesting than a completely flat world to play creative on. But right here we have some options. I'm just going to go with basically the default. I think you do need to select a world material, so we can do, where's some sand? That's probably a good one. There we go. Let's do some sand. And display name, we can do, how about lush 0, because what we're going to do is basically hijack this server to load in the pre-rendered or the pre-generated worlds eventually. Let's go ahead and create that one. We can immediately create another one. So there's the running world right there. We haven't started it just yet. Let's go ahead and do a lush 1. Sand is fine as well. Create. And finally a lush 2. So create that. Now we have 3 planets going. We can start these up. Let's just start the first one for now. It's going to pop up another one of these windows. And as you're doing the Lua scripting and you're kind of troubleshooting scripts, this window is kind of useful because it'll, you know, throw out errors and give you a little bit of a clue what's going wrong with your script as you're trying to, well, get it to work. So I'll drag this off onto another monitor for the time being. Okay, so now we should be good to go. Got at least one world going, and we can go ahead, I guess, try to swap to creative. Okay, so it's gonna go through the normal create your character. Let's do Jiivita, confirm, accept. We don't really want to import, and yeah, this is kind of oh, okay, it actually works this time. So yeah, if you don't set up your worlds and things beforehand, you won't have a world to actually start on, and you can't get past that very last screen. So now you just kind of go through the motions of creating a new character, and voila! A sandy, super flat world. We do have wild stock. Should be what, some spitters occasionally, but yeah. So it generates the world so quickly because it just makes one chunk and then copies it over and over and over and over. So yeah, literally everything is the same. I believe it's sand all the way down to mantle, but however, we can fly. So you can hit F, that'll allow you to fly around. If you use F for something else, you might have to reset your key bindings. I'm not really sure on that. And also you can hit F9 to open up the give menu, so you can give yourself anything and everything you can possibly imagine. When you're building, you do need to continue to use beacons to not only place your complex blocks like machines, but to also prevent your builds from regenerating. Time doesn't pass while the server is not running, so it can kind of look like world regeneration doesn't really apply to these servers. However, if you let them run for 4 hours or more, chances are they're going to regenerate. So, however, you can just give yourself some cheat loaves. So, cheat, skill, loaf. Let's give ourselves a smart stack. And since we created a new character, we are level 1, but with this, we can quickly level ourselves up as many times as we possibly can imagine. Or as long as you can stand to hold down the mouse button, I suppose. So there we go, we should be level 50 at least. Yeah, there we go, 50, and then we have all sorts of skills to spend as soon as we collect them from the rewards. Test this out. So yeah, we have 104 skill points, so very nice. This means we can also give ourselves essentially as many qubits as we want to buy as many plots as we want. So for the determined, you could literally plot an entire planet. So beyond just giving yourself all sorts of things to play with and maybe experimenting with different forge techniques, prototyping builds, there is the Lua scripting to play around with. So there is a bare bones kind of load in some scripts, run some functions. Right here, there are some examples preloaded in with the game. So we go to your wherever your game is installed. So, you know, Steam library, common, you got Boundless. So we're going to head over to, I think it's server, creative worlds. Oh, there's our creative worlds, but we're looking for scripts. And then there'll be this folder with samples and has at least some of these sample scripts. You want to copy these because any changes that are made to these will likely be overwritten by Steam the next time the game updates. So I just copied all of these and threw them up here, and from here we can call them using this little interface over here. So Dave, one of the developers, made this handy script right here. I did have to kind of troubleshoot it a little bit, or really I bugged him to help me troubleshoot it. But we can come over here, copy and paste the name. You don't have to put the .lua, but click load module in. Perfect. So it spawns in this sphere of mantle. It does kind of lag the game a little bit as it's generating in. But there we go. There should be... There it is. There's a piece of dirt right here that is kind of thoughts for this was to make like a fighting type arena, but then he added this block of dirt here that if you jump on it, move away, it spawns a tree. So you can chop down this tree, jump on that piece of dirt again, and it will spawn another tree as soon as you get out of the way. So pretty cool. The first thing that kind of comes to mind for something like this is like you could basically set up a well, what are they called in Minecraft? Like sky maps of all there is just a little platform to play on, and you can kind of like generate rock using water and lava, and chop down the same tree 5 million times, so on and so forth. Well, you could essentially script that, and maybe even a more interesting version using scripts very similar to this. So pretty nice. Let's take a look at some of the other examples that we have here. The next up, since this is an arena, we can spawn in some wild stock. So let's do spawn wild stock. This is a script, so I'm not just like making this up as I go along. This is actually loading a worded out script. But we can load this module and it spawns a strong wild stock in front of us. It's a little bit random. It can spawn in elemental wild stock on occasion. So that's pretty nice. Gives us something to fight. Ooh, that one even has a buff on it. And then amusingly, I finally got the kill script working. I thought it would kill all of the wild stock, but instead, It actually kills the player, but it looks like it disconnected us for whatever reason. Okay, so let's try that again. I think I got it fixed. I was actually trying to modify this script to go ahead and kill the wild stock. But yeah, so load module kills the character, which was, I had this awesome moment of elation that, yes, I finally got the script to do something. And I was like, wait, what? It killed me? I thought I was supposed to kill the wild stock. And I was like, oh, duh, reading the script, I should have known better. But yeah. Okay, and coming back out here, let's take a look at the next one. This one actually spawns in a maze, which is pretty cool because it actually loads this maze in from literally a text file that you can use, like has X's laid out that kind of denotes the layout of the maze. And did I fail at spelling maze or something? Oh, I think it's working. Oh, yep, there it is. Okay. I'm just being a little impatient. So, yeah, pretty cool. Let's take a look at what it's actually using to create this maze. So, let's see here. Pull up this. So, there's the maze script, but it's reading this file right here. It opens up on the wrong monitor. And there's essentially the layout of the maze that it's generating. So, pretty crazy. And if you're wondering what these scripts actually look like, if you're not familiar with Lua, they're basically just almost plain English. So let's take a look at the maze, get it to open up just a regular notepad. Okay, so very nice. This is one of the more user-friendly scripts. It gives a little description up at the top. The script creates a maze from sample/maze text nearby to the player. So, function, read all file, and yeah, if you are familiar with coding, then this hopefully makes sense to you. So this is practically in plain English. So it looks like right here, so local values, this is what selects the material used to make the maze. So I could change this to basically anything as long as I know the right name to use. So pretty cool. And I believe Karo Kindu even made essentially a voxel editor importer. So like, if you make builds with Magica Voxel, he literally kind of translated those save files into something that this script can sort of understand, and he can literally import these amazing builds into Boundless. The screenshots that he showed they all looked like they were made out of sand, or at least the same block. and there was no chiseling, but still, that is pretty awesome and allows for some pretty amazing possibilities. And then the final example we have, or sample, is the Tangle platform. This is a fairly amusing script. At first glance, it doesn't do anything, but let's see, let's take a look. Here's the server. There we go. So we can see that it is constantly pulling what we're standing on. So if we find some Tangle, or rather give ourselves some Tangle, so give ourselves a stack of that, plop it down, and let's jump on this, maybe fly up, and it spawns a platform of Tangle. So let's go ahead. I guess we need to build it up a bit. And there we go. Now we essentially can't fall because every time we jump or walk off, it spawns a platform of Tangle. It's just kind of crazy, I have to say. But just kind of shows off a little bit of what's possible. I can imagine something like this being used for, like, say, a jumping puzzle, and say you want a platform that either kind of pretends like it moves around, or maybe it blinks in and out of existence, so you have to time your jumps of like, oh, that platform's only going to be there for X amount of seconds before it disappears, so I have to know where I'm going next, sort of thing. So pretty cool. Okay, so returning to Sanctum, let's go ahead and shut down all of our worlds. So we're gonna stop this planet as soon as we're off of it. So stop, see the portal goes away there. And what we're gonna do, and I'll share this link in the description of the video, we're gonna load in those pre-generated worlds so we can actually play around with them. Okay, so we're gonna go to our Steam library, Steam apps, common, and then boundless, kind of like what we did before, but I kind of skipped that step. We're gonna head over to server, creative worlds, and there are the 3 worlds that we created. So we're gonna go ahead, select all of this, delete it, and do the same thing. Oh, we didn't even start that world, so it didn't even generate it. Perfect. Delete all of that, and we have the 3 worlds that I downloaded from the link provided. So open this up, and so for one, we're just going to copy the contents here, paste it in, and do the same thing with the other servers. They are rather large, so it might take a little bit depending on your computer. Okay, so the last world is copying over. I don't remember if I said this earlier, but these are kind of like a MacGyver workaround / hacks. These are unofficially provided because there's no commitment to ensuring that these worlds will continue to work further down the line. And in fact, further down the line, I would expect a much more streamlined version for enabling things like this. So basically, you're generating your own planets or the like. But now we can go over here, and we should be able to load up all of these worlds. So let's just hit start on all of these and see what happens. There we go. Let's go ahead, start the next one. Now, as you might imagine, the more worlds that you run on one computer, the more CPU, RAM, etc. that they will consume. However, an empty server essentially doesn't really have that much overhead. And currently this is basically a single player experience. You can't quite have somebody else join these worlds just yet, but moving forward, eventually there should be an option to be able to invite other players, maybe even like have it hosted as a rented planet for more or less everybody to enjoy. So here we go. We have a fully fledged boundless world to explore and play creative on. Very nice. And look up in the sky. If we're lucky, we might see one of the other 3 planets, or other 2 planets, excuse me. But you should be able to go visit them just like you would in any other planet. So let's go ahead. They are running, so we can teleport to them. We might have to... yeah, I think we need to return to Sanctum first. If we could visually see them, we could do the normal warp augment and whatnot, but hey, this is creative mode. We don't have to abide by those rules. A good thing to note that if you do the force teleport, it kind of deletes some stuff as far as character data, so it's not really recommended unless you're stuck on a planet that has already been deleted. So let's teleport to this one. There we go. Ooh, that one doesn't even have a planet up in the sky. This is Argar, Gagar, something like that. Oh, very nice. I actually haven't been on this one just yet. This is my first time loading up this planet. So, but anyway, so if you might have already guessed just by the numbering of the files that this is a tier, 0 through 2 or level 1 through 3, depending on how you want to look at that. Typically, tier starts at 0, whereas level starts at 1. So you could just about have a entire single-player experience, at least up to a tier 3 world, just by using these. I think that probably covers just about everything. I'll also throw in a link for some other resources, particularly if you manage to kind of mess up your universe in general. There's a way to reset it. There's basically a couple of folders to delete your worlds, and then the discovery server or the sanctum that kind of resets the whole experience. And of course, links to the patch notes, the Lua scripting that Boundless is using. It is a customized or limited version of it to basically ensure nefarious actions aren't taking place. It's kind of confined to a sandbox and whatnot. So if you find a way to essentially break the sandbox and load things that you're not supposed to be able to load, please let the developers know, because yeah, that is not something that is intended. Okay, so I'm not 100% certain on this, but I did notice that it does say complete and then it has no. It does have yes for that very first planet that we generated because we actually visited said planet. So I probably should have visited these 2 other flat planets before I deleted them, because I guess the Discovery server doesn't view them as valid worlds. That's probably why I don't see anything up in the sky. Might also explain why the tier 3 planet doesn't have any meteors, or maybe meteors just aren't enabled for creative. So, but anyway, I think that covers everything fairly nicely. I'm sure there's things I left out, and I expect to do probably more videos over the creative and scripting. I don't think my expertise in programming will allow me to do actual scripting tutorials, but maybe showing off some of the amazing tools that the community manages to create as a definite possibility. But anyway, this was Jiivita. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more like this, and if there's anything you didn't like, please let me know down below. Also, if you like my channel and want to get cool perks, check out my Patreon page. Till next time, peace.